Welcome back to this episode of the Law of Relevancy podcast. Today I'm joined by Brandon Leibowitz. He's the founder of SEO Optimizers, a full-service marketing agency based in Los Angeles that specializes in marketing for digital clients. Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for joining us. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on today.
Well, I tell you what, one thing I really love to do is speak to other agency owners, learn about what helped them make that jump. And, what's your story?
Yeah, I got started back in 2007, got my degree in business marketing, and the first job I got out of school was helping a company out with their digital marketing, which I don't really know much about it back then. They said, don't worry, we don't know much either. We're going to take you to classes and workshops and seminars and learn alongside with you. So I decided to give it a shot. And after working there for a few months, just realized this is probably the future. Everyone's probably going to have a website. And I was helping out with their social media, doing paid ads, doing email marketing, doing search engine optimization. I was even taking pictures of products, kind of doing it all, but really good, kind of focus more on the SEO or the marketing side of things, trying to get traffic to people's websites. And over the years, I work at different advertising agencies as a director of SEO. And before work, after work, and on my lunch breaks, I'd work on my own company and eventually built that up to where I was able to quit my job and focus solely on this, and been doing that ever since, just helping people get more traffic to their websites.
How's that working for you as an entrepreneur versus working for others?
I like it a lot more. It's a lot more work, a lot more time intensive, but it's much more fulfilling and worthwhile. So I don't think I could ever go back to 9 to 5 after leaving and doing my own thing. So very happy, and definitely requires a lot more commitment and has ups and downs, a little bit more stressful, but the perks that come along with it, the freedom, the flexibility to set my own hours and be my own boss. And the nice thing with digital is kind of work anywhere. So I could just, as long as I have an internet access to my computer, I could kind of just pick it up and work from wherever I want to be remotely.
That's a good plan. One of the funny things about, in my opinion, about being an entrepreneur is really not a 9 to 5 anymore. It's more of a 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. kind of a job. So you end up working close to double what you would normally work, just working for someone else, and the stress and everything else. But one of the most rewarding things for me is the leadership component. So right now your agency is around 10 employees, I believe. How do you attract and inspire your teammates to keep pressing and learning? Because our world is changing so fast.
That is the tough part, finding and hiring good employees, which I've been struggling with for a while, but really vetting them out and making sure you do your research ahead of time and asking them some questions. So before I just hire somebody, I'll ask them some questions about SEO and see how knowledgeable they are. That way I can make sure that they're really knowledgeable, dedicated, and interested in this topic. And then from there, it's just constantly staying up to date, because there is no constant with digital. It's always changing, especially with SEO. It pretty much changes every single day. Google's algorithm is always updating. So got to stay up to date with the latest changes of what Google's looking for, and just make sure we're really making Google happy. And then also looking at other platforms that emerge and other tools, and just try to immerse ourselves as much as possible by reading articles or blogs or listening to podcasts or watching YouTube videos or wherever it may be, talking to other webmasters, just to bounce ideas off one another.
No, that's it. You definitely have to be a committed self-learner. You have to be willing to put in the work and really have a passion, in my opinion, to be always up to date with whatever is happening out there in the SEO world. And recently, in the last year or so, we've seen, I know ChatGPT 4 came out last March, and we've seen the first real fundamental shift, in my opinion, since search engines were created back in 1995, 1996 with Alta Vista and InfoSeek. And I mean, Google was barely just a baby back then. But forever it's been, hey, put in a search query, put in some keywords into a little box, and then you end up with a search results page. And now we have a fundamentally different experience that's starting to take hold with some of these AI tools. What are you guys doing to help prepare for a potential shift in the way people search for information online?
We're just trying to see what happens, because there's always trends that come up and new tools, new platforms that emerge, and we just have to see, is this going to stick? Are people going to use AI to search versus going on a traditional search engine? Because right now, when you search on AI, it's not really the same. You can't really go to websites or buy. So if you're trying to do any, well, I think they're changing it a little bit where you can actually go to the website and buy the products, but it's really in its infancy right now and just trying to see what's going to happen. Are people going to keep using it? Because there's been lots of competitors to Google. Google's put their own AI out to compete against ChatGPT, which is owned by Bing, and Google has Bard, which is their AI version. We'll have to see if that takes hold, because when you search on Google, they have the AI enabled where it'll show the AI, the Bard results at the top, and then the organic, which right now it looks pretty similar to just the Google search, where if you're searching for local business, it'll pull maps in, and it looks pretty much almost the same, just less up to date. It kind of looks like a 1995 kind of website, really just plain, bare bones, no real feel to it. It's just giving you the data right there. But we'll have to see if people use it, because I've used it and it's not as good as Google organic search.
Right.
But the more people that use it, the better it's going to become. That's where AI is right now, where it's just learning and it's not accurate. But the more people that use it, the more accurate it's going to become. And then we'll have to see if that really takes hold, or if Google just merges the AI into the search results, or if ChatGPT takes over and Bing takes over, which I don't see that happening because people are just glued to Google.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see, because it changes so quick and it's so dynamic with what's going on right now.
Well, you know, for years when I would talk with clients about SEO, it was always about, I mean, just like the name of the show, relevancy, right? You know, Google's goal was to always have the most relevant, most authentic, the best results, you know, in their search results page. And what they were betting on is, by being the most relevant, people will always go there first because it will less likely waste their time. It's like we're all fundamentally lazy, right? And so as AI gets better at delivering the answers to these questions, which it's getting really good, our inner laziness will kick in and we'll probably shift our behavior over there. I'm very interested to see what happens. We're trying to plan for lots of contingencies as it relates to all of this. And I know even like copyright law is a big concern, because when one of these tools comes in and gets content from your site and then shows it somewhere else, you know, there may be legal ramifications there that are pretty, you know, profound as it relates to what website owners, you know, have, you know, it's their content, but it's being shown somewhere else, but you're not getting it wrapped in all of that context of calls to action and buy this and take this and fill out this form. And so it's very interesting what's happening right now.
Yeah, it's pretty unique, but it's kind of like when Google enabled the featured snippets.
Right.
So Google has, when you search on Google, this big box that appears, usually that will give you the answer right there. So it's kind of similar, where nowadays when you search on Google, most of the time people don't even go to the website because they get the answer right there. Google at least credits you. So you have that URL right there where you can click on it.
Yeah.
Whereas AI isn't really doing that, but it's kind of the same thing, where I think like Wikipedia lost over half their traffic once that came out, because a lot of these searches for like a celebrity's age or birth date was on Wikipedia, but now it's just being pulled out through schema coding. So you add schema.org on your website. Now enable Google pull these snippets out, and it just takes away a lot of traffic from websites. Unfortunately, traffic from websites keep dropping, and they're just trying to give you that content, but keep you on Google. Like if you're searching on Google for a celebrity's birthday, there's probably not going to be any ads on that page. Google doesn't want you to go to Wikipedia and leave Google, because then Google's not making any money. So Google wants to give you that answer right there, then hope that you do another search that's more transactional, that has some ads, because that's really how Google makes all their money, is they just care about those ads. They just want you to click on ads, and that's how they make all their money. And if there's no ads that are shown on that first page of Google or on that search results page on Google, then they're not making much money, and they're not going to be happy about that. It's just like with YouTube too. Google owns YouTube, and a lot of times you'll see YouTube videos in the search results, or videos in the search results, and it's going to be primarily YouTube, because Google wants to promote YouTube. They don't want to promote Vimeo or Facebook video or Dailymotion or any of these other video platforms, because the first thing that happens anytime you watch a YouTube video, there's always an ad, which is YouTube making money, which is really Google making money. So it all comes down to them making more money and figuring out what's going to make them the most money and how can I balance it out where I'm still getting that visibility, but appeasing Google, because Google changes all the time. And unfortunately, right now they make the rules and we got to just do what they say. We don't really have any much say in it.
Well, that is one of the things. It is amazing. You know, you look at the algorithm updates that Google comes out with, and I mean, is this like 500 updates a year now? I mean, it's insane. It may even be more. And to think that something that has worked pretty well for, 20 years, they're still improving all the time, and in getting to work in a better way. I am going to be very interested to see how it goes. Let me ask you a question. So obviously you guys are SEO experts, you're web marketing experts. When you meet with a new client, what are some of the first things you guys do to really try to understand what kind of a campaign, what kind of needs that they have? How do you guys build that?
Usually first starting point is figure out who their audience is and how do we get in front of their audience at the right moments when they're actively looking for a new prospective client's products or services. Mm-hmm. And that's where we try to figure out, because it's not a one size fits all. It's not just like, hey, let's do SEO or let's do paid ads or let's do social, because it doesn't work all the time, depending on what type of business you have. So that's where we just got to look at each business and figure out what's going to be the best strategy to get them new leads, because SEO is great at getting traffic to your website, but most of those people that come to a website just in general are going to leave immediately. So then we're like, all right, let's run some remarketing ads and try to follow people around to keep you top of mind, or let's get an email campaign where we try to capture people's email addresses by giving something away for free, offering something of value in exchange for their email, and then just trying to have those multiple touch points to build trust up. But it really changes for each website. Every company is different. So I always start off with a consultation where it's a free consultation where I look at their website and try to analyze it and look at their competitors and try to figure out what's working, what's not working for the competitors, and what will potentially work for this new client.
How do you balance, when you're building a plan for someone, how do you balance the demand side driven components of a marketing campaign where, like, for example, there may be a cyclical type of behavior for a shopper, or that is very much pull by SEO, versus how do you figure out the balance of what you need to like push into a website through like a paid search campaign or a higher level funnel campaign, versus things that you have, even if you're ranking highly for something, you don't control the amount of people searching for something, right? So that would be like a more traditional SEO type of a campaign. How do you back into that strategy?
Yeah, it all comes down to, first keyword research and figure out what keywords have search volume and buyer intent behind them. Mm-hmm. But with SEO or just in general, it's always going to be, we're going to try to hit all areas of the funnel, upper funnel, some more blog content where it's just more informational kind of content, where it's just really broad, generic, trying to capture people that are searching for a question that they may have, like how to fix a spare tire for my car. Like maybe I'm working for a mechanic and we write a blog post about how to fix your spare tire. And then we hopefully get people that go there, search, and then realize, all right, this might be a little too complicated. Right. How about I reach out to this mechanic? So having that upper funnel content, mixing in with the lower funnel keywords where it's more like the service or product pages, trying to make sure that we have those buyer intent related keywords, but trying to get that balance. I mean, most clients, they only care about the bottom of the funnel, but to get people to the bottom of the funnel, they need to start at the top. Right. So we have to start at the top and get people in there, which doesn't always result in transactions, gets you traffic. But hopefully over time, you build yourself up, build your name up, that people trust you, they remember you, and in the future, they want to use your product or service. But trying to just get that balance of hitting all those areas of the funnel.
When you're meeting with a client, and I have that same experience, a lot of times clients are really focused on the very bottom of the funnel. How many phone calls did I get? How many form fills? But the building of trust over time is one of the most undervalued things when it comes to people understanding, like, how do you drive more leads over time and whatnot, right? So how do you actually measure the trust that you're building with a client's website?
That one is a little tougher. It's more intangible because trust can mean so many different things to everyone. So I try to tell them like, look, this is what Google's doing. You could see how much traffic you're getting from Google. So you could see it's increasing, that Google's starting to trust you a little bit more, but it's really tough to measure how much trust people are having to your website. You can see, look at like the bounce rate maybe, or time on site, how long they stay on your website. Do they stay on your website for 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Not a good sign. If they stay on for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, that's a little bit better. They're reading, they're learning more about you, they're having a little bit more trust. Or that bounce rate, how many people come to your website and leave immediately. If it's really high, that's also probably a negative signal that people probably don't trust your website and it's not authentic. But trust really comes down to, nowadays, I say, like, I feel like putting a face behind the company is the best, because there's so many websites out there. But if you could put a face behind the company through video, YouTube, social, whatever it is, but that just really helps people trust you more. It might not directly lead to sales, but people trust you more, and that might indirectly lead to more sales for your website.
No, that's an excellent strategy. I really like the concept of building trust, because a lot of the things that you're recommending are not necessarily like digital things. You know, really what it still boils down to is the humanistic components of, do I have a relationship with this person? And video can help you build a relationship with someone at scale. I mean, even somebody watching this podcast or your podcast, if they like the way that you are explaining things, your approach to things, well, they might trust you when they have a question about something that you do, you know? And so that's just a good old fashioned time proven strategy, but you're able to do it at scale because, you know, video is able to capture so much. That's an excellent approach. I really like your strategy. Tell me, have you guys ever tried something that you were just, wow, I can't believe how good that worked?
Probably remarketing ads. So anyone that's been to your website and doesn't make a purchase, you see those ads that follow you around. Like if you go on Amazon, you look at a product and you don't buy it, those ads just follow you everywhere you go. Yeah. And those remarketing ads are very, very effective. I didn't really like running ads until a few years ago. I started really pushing the remarketing ads, and that's just helped me out so much because, well, it also depends on what type of business, but I do SEO, some more long buying cycle people, and I teach classes too. So people come to my classes and they're just in startup mode and they're just learning about SEO. And then they see my ads, follow them around. And I've had people that saw my ads are like, oh, I came to your class like 4 years ago, forgot about you, but now I'm ready to do SEO or digital marketing. And I saw your ad and it just kept me top of mind and reminded them of me and got me those sales. So that's really been effective. And one other one with the paid ads is being able to target your competitors' traffic, which I didn't really know about that either until maybe like 5 years ago, where you could bid on your competitors' traffic on Google Ads. So I could say anyone that's been to like Yelp looking for an SEO company, anytime they open up YouTube, my video ad will appear. So I'm stealing Yelp's traffic without bidding on their keywords per se, but taking their traffic and using custom audiences in Google Ads. That's really helped out because it's just taking people that are interested and now just showing them what I have to offer versus Yelp or another competitor might be offering.
Yeah, and I think you're actually hitting on a lot of good reasons why somebody would want to hire an agency instead of try to do it themselves, or, you know, potentially hire, you know, a generic marketing person. But there are so many specialized strategies that when you really put in the work, I mean, you're able to get good at. I mean, even the one you just described earlier, you've been talking about multi-channel strategies. So there's SEO, there's paid search, there's retargeting, there's YouTube advertising. And like a normal like business person could sit across the table and go, wow, you know, that we should be doing all those things, but how do you actually get them done? And so that's really where like agencies and people like you and your organization really come in, because it's not easy to get that work done, but when you're doing it over and over again, it's easy to scale. It's easy to be able to do the exact same thing for like 5 or 10 different clients because you get really good at it. And in my opinion, that is the value proposition for hiring a digital agency.
Yeah, because there's a lot you could do, and it could be overwhelming. There's so much you could do, and even more than what we've been talking about to just help with the buying cycle and get those multiple touch points and just targeting people. But it does become a lot. And that's where it's like, all right, do you have enough time to allocate to doing all that marketing yourself? If so, then great, go for it. But most of the time it becomes like a full-time job where it's like, all right, now you're running your company and now you have to do marketing and you have to do payroll and hiring and everything else that comes along with having your own company. And it really stacks up. And there's only so much time in the day. Then you have to really, really, really focus on delegating, which is another thing that I started doing like 6, 7 years ago, is delegating more to get my time back so I could focus on more important things and more higher level things. Otherwise, you just get too sucked in the weeds and the day flies by and like I didn't get to do anything that I wanted to do on my real business because I've been stuck doing these codes or adding pixels or tracking codes and all these other technical things.
Yeah, it can get really technical. I can share one thing that we did that we had no idea how well it was going to work. We just sort of had and I hadn't seen this anywhere, but YouTube has, for the last several years has been the #2 search engine in the world, with Google being #1. We know they're the same company, but it's a different experience. And so we're really all in on promoting making videos. But one trick we tried that really, really seemed to make a big difference was we started, even though we were building these libraries of videos, we started transcribing the videos and then adding the entire transcription into the description. The transcription into the description of the YouTube video, which can take up to like 10,000 words. And so when we did that, even though Google could do closed captioning and things like that for your video, for whatever reason, those words from the closed captioning weren't going into its index. It wasn't indexing it based on some of those words. And so we had a medical clinic, for example, that had 600 videos. And we just said, okay, we're going to do a big project. We're going to transcribe every single one of these videos. We did it, and some of them are an hour long. And almost overnight, we saw their video traffic go from 15,000 minutes a month to over 100,000 minutes a month, which obviously resulted in quite a lot of surgery business for them. But it is funny how you can stumble into some of these techniques, and it's really hard to like game the algorithm, but in general, if you're following their best practices and things that they recommend, you're going to be fine. It's just a matter of doing the work, and it's difficult to get all that work done.
Yeah, there's only so much time in the day, but transcribing videos is so important. It's like with SEO, and ever since I've been doing it, Google says content is king. Content is the most important thing, and content to search engines really is text. Images, videos, audio, they're getting better at it, but they still struggle. So the more text you could put on your website really helps out. So I always tell people put content on your website, but same with like YouTube. If you can transcribe these videos or timestamp them or summarize them or just add some text in the description, that just helps out so much, because the more you spoon feed the search engines or any of these platforms, the easier it is you're making it for these platforms to really understand what your content is about and rank you for the correct keywords, because they're just robots, they're just algorithms, and they're pretty smart and sophisticated, but they're not that smart. They still need you to really give them as much information as possible. The more you give them, the better the results are going to be, as long as you're not spamming them and just throwing a bunch of keywords in there just to throw them in there. But if you're offering value, that's what they want. And as long as you're offering value and helping people out, they're going to reward you if you do the right things.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I really like what you just said. It's think of it as spoon feeding. The easier you make it for the algorithm or for Google to select you as a better choice in the search results page, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. It's always just less is better, or simplifying things is better. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't have all these other custom codes on your website, but just think like if you're a robot, what would be the easiest thing? Is just text. That's really what they feed off, and just providing them good quality text on your website, on your podcasts. Like if it's an hour-long podcast, you might not want to transcribe it. It might be too much, but you could timestamp it.
Sure.
And just create sections for it. If it's like a 20-minute one, then you could probably transcribe it. But once it gets really long, sometimes it just becomes too much work. But if you put the time in it and you have the time and resources to, I would transcribe the whole thing. And there's tools now that will help out with that, whether they'll like AI, well, just like Google pulls the subtitles out, they'll try to give you the subtitles and the closed captions, but it's not accurate. So you have to go in and edit it a little bit, but it does save a lot of time. So if you do have a bunch of old videos, old content, there's a lot of platforms out there now that will help automate some of it, because doing this 5 years ago was really, really tough. But nowadays, with AI and all these tools that are emerging, it's making things a lot easier. It's just making sure you use these tools as a tool. Don't just rely on them solely to do all the work for you, because right now they're not 100% accurate, but they're a good starting point and a good way to just help you become more efficient and get some time back in your day.
Well, that's great, Brandon. Where can people follow you and learn from your thought leadership on SEO?
So anyone that wants to learn more, I create a special gift for them if they go to my website at SEOoptimizers.com. That's SEOoptimizers.com/gift. They can find that there, along with my contact information and some classes I've done over the years. I've thrown up for free. And also, if they want to book some time on my calendar for a free website analysis from an SEO point of view, they could book some time for free there as well.
That's fantastic, Brandon. And even though I think the SEO world is shifting, I don't think it's going to shift overnight. I could be wrong, but I think this is going to be a major part of marketing and advertising for years and years to come, even as it transitions into whatever's next. Brandon, I really appreciate you joining us, and we will find you in those places that you mentioned on your website. And you can find us anywhere where podcasts are found. That's the lawofrelevancy.com, on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, anywhere where they're found, and also on the Bake More Pies social feeds. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.